Hi, I'm Benson Garner. I'm an enterprise consultant. I do a lot of work with Alexander Osterwalder, the creator of the business model canvas and the value proposition canvas, and his team at Strategizer. I've done a lot of work with ASU over the last couple of years, mentoring and coaching startups and entrepreneurs. Today I want to talk to you about minimum viable products. So the term minimum viable product comes to us and was popularized by a gentleman, Eric Ries, who wrote a phenomenal book, The Lean Startup, which if you haven't read it yet, I suggest you go grab a copy. But the term minimum viable product comes from this book, and it helps us to get through the build, measure, learn feedback loop that's also discussed in the book. The minimum viable product is what we take out and we show to early customers, early adopters of our product or service. So a minimum viable product is the version of your product that allows you to capture the most learning using the least amount of effort and resources. So essentially your minimum viable product needs to be minimal, meaning it's got the least amount of features in the product or the service. It needs to be quick, meaning we've got to be able to iterate on that product very rapidly, be able to build it very rapidly, because ultimately it all comes back to that build, measure, learn feedback loop. The faster we can build it, the quicker we can get through the cycle. It needs to be cheap. Now, I don't mean cheap in the sense that the minimum viable product is cheap, but it just needs to simply be cheaper than the full-blown product development cost. It needs to be testable, meaning that we actually can put it out in front of customers, allow them to touch it, feel it, heft it, so to speak, and be able to provide feedback as a result. And it needs to be measurable, meaning we can actually collect some data from it and derive insights and make actual decisions based on the data that we've taken. So the reason that we use a minimum viable product, as I said, is it helps us to go through the build, measure, learn feedback loop the fastest, but ultimately what it boils down to is the same reason why we use tools like the business model canvas, the value proposition canvas, because it's about avoiding wasting time, wasting resources, and other things that are limited to us on ideas, on products, on services, on businesses that ultimately are going to fail because nobody wants them. We use minimum viable product because they're quicker to design, they're easy to test, they work, they help us to deliver our products and services to the market much faster than we could otherwise in a traditional product development cycle. Whether you're using waterfall product development or agile product development, you need to learn this concept of the minimum viable product. The way that the how behind this, right, is basically back up here. Minimal, quick, cheap, fast prototypes of your product or of your service that allow you to collect learning as fast as possible. Again, they're going to get you through that build, measure, learn feedback loop incredibly quick. So to give you a couple of examples of minimum viable products, in the book Eric talks about landing pages. You can throw up a single landing page that basically defines what your offer is. It defines the value proposition that you're trying to offer to your customer and gives a clear call to action, whether that be give me your email address, buy the product now, pre-order, whatever the action that you're hoping the customer will take. It has a clearly defined call to action and a clear offer that you're making. One example that I have for you in terms of a minimum viable product, I was out talking with a customer, basically sold them, verbally sold them on a concept, on an idea that I knew I could build if I could just get them to pay me for it. So I sold them a $1,000 product, and with that $1,000 I then went back, built the thing, delivered it to the customer, and then I thought, man, this is phenomenal. So I went out and tried to do it over again, and I couldn't repeat it. What's important about that is I spent none of my own money. It was incredibly quick. It was the minimum feature set. It was free, essentially, because I had the customer fund the development of the product that I delivered. I was able to test it and measure it incredibly incredibly quick. And when I learned that I couldn't repeat that over and over and over again, back to the drawing board. Try it and try it all over again. The time that it takes to get through that build, measure, learn feedback loop is what's most critical. The only thing standing between you and success as an entrepreneur is the time it takes you to accelerate yourself through that feedback loop. If you can get through that feedback loop faster than your competitors, you'll beat them all day long. Again, I'm Benson Garner. If you've got any questions about minimum viable products, business models, value propositions, lean startup, feel free to reach out, benson@bensongarner.com, or hit me up on Twitter @BensonGarner.